Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we get started this evening, for those attending here in council chambers, there are copies of our agenda and some additional materials on either side of the room. For those at home, following on our website, there are the same information as well as some links that will provide you with all the documents we're looking at up here. So to start the evening, April, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Colavani?
Here.
Commissioner Sadowski Fugit?
Here.
Commissioner Wallace?
Here.
Commissioner Earl? Here. Commissioner Jose? Mayor Barnett?
Here. Thank you, April. Tonight's agenda features several opportunities for public comment. The first of those is now. If you have some subjects you'd like to bring up that are not on tonight's agenda, please feel free to approach the podium and do so. Okay. Steve, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Steve Leopoldo. I'm actually not a Downers Grove resident, but I spend a lot of time here and a lot of shopping here. I just wanted to talk to the council very briefly about the issue of ethylene oxide that we found affects more communities than we even realized. There was an EPA hearing, was it last week, a couple weeks ago, where we found out that a plant in Willowbrook has been releasing ethylene oxide into our air for a distance that increases cancer rates up to 25 miles from Willowbrook. They particularly mentioned, and this has been recorded and you can view it on Burr Ridge's Facebook live feed, but they particularly mentioned within a 6-mile radius I believe 100 additional instances of cancer per million risk increase. Feel free to definitely go back and take a look at the video for the exact wording, but when I look at the map, I saw that where I shop at Trader Joe's, in Fresh Time, and where my kid goes to Gallery's Choice art class, that's all well within this. And the Attorney General's office has a suit against this particular company in Willowbrook for various issues, and a lot of the communities around Willowbrook are joining in on that suit to show power and community coming together to protect residents. And I would like for Downers Grove to consider joining that. I also brought a copy of the map just to show you, and I'd be happy to provide additional information to the mayor or any of the council members as interested. Thank you.
Steve, can you leave a copy of that map, please? Thank you for taking the time.
Good evening, and thank you for hearing our comments at tonight's meeting. My name is Stan Peters. I'm also known by many as S.J. Peters. My address is 1704 White Place in Downers Grove. My wife and I have owned our home in Downers Grove since the fall of 1990. We've raised our 2 daughters here, and they've known no other home their entire lives. I speak tonight as a resident and a homeowner, but also as a brother, a brother-in-law, and an uncle, and I'll explain in a moment. I'm also a neighbor, a congregant at Gloria Dei, and the director of a trade association that's been located in Downers Grove for the past 3 decades. So I live, work, shop, play, pay taxes, vote, pray, and proud to call Downers Grove my home. My sister Jana, she's sitting right there, and my brother-in-law Peter have made the Willowbrook their home since 1987. That daycare center, that Sterigenics in Willowbrook that's often mentioned, that's Conniff's cradle. That's Jana Conniff. This respected home daycare has been owned and operated by my sister Jana for over 32 years. It's a half a mile from Sterigenics. That same big sister is also a recent breast cancer survivor, and my brother-in-law is living with several types of cancer. We have little doubt that their cancers are connected to Sterigenics. Since it's a home daycare, for decades, Jana has been busy in that area literally night and day, and so has Sterigenics. Jana's livelihood helped raise a family with 3 daughters. These 3 moms now worry what effect Sterigenics may have on them. Since many people contend for solid reasons that this company's business activities still pose a future risk, I strongly suggest that we, Downers Grove, join efforts to stop them going forward and hold them accountable going backwards. just as Steve had just mentioned. The health and well-being of residents of all the municipalities surrounding this company should be our top concern. Downers Grove and Willowbrook are good neighbors. These two towns are components of the far west suburbs, and both have built solid communities that complement each other. These are places where good people live, work, and raise kids. The list of residents who suspect that they have been harmed by this company's emissions is rising every day. Their worries are justified. What ails them is not coincidental. Sterigenics is in our backyard, not the other way around. They rent. They have no roots in Willowbrook or our area. In my view, that makes them like a hotel guest whose checkout time has come and is long gone. It's my guess that they'll probably expect others to clean up the mess they left behind. So now it's high time for Sterigenics to pack up and be gone. Responsible businesses, above all, want to prevent causing harm. Once they are aware, most responsible companies take action. Irresponsible companies, I think, take the opposite approach. They delay and deny. They admit nothing, and they do even less. Their hope is that maybe that we will forget or that we'll get used to it. They cross their fingers that a day will come that we'll give up. We'll put up with it. Sorry, Sterigenics, that day will never come. Downers Grove is not immune from the effects of Sterigenics emissions. We now know of the potential danger, yet only time will tell the extent and the reach. But we don't have to tolerate it. We have the opportunity today to do our part to help prevent putting current and future residents in harm's way. Close it, move it, don't reopen it, it's not worth the risk. I respectfully urge our elected leaders in Downers Grove to add our voices to the growing number of municipalities who are willing and committed to join in legal action against Sterigenics. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jana Conniff. I live in Willowbrook, 234 Midway Drive. I've lived there for 33 years. I wasn't going to speak today, but I have to. Not only am I a breast cancer survivor, I have one more year, just past the 4-year mark. My husband has prostate cancer. It has moved on to other parts, and he is going to be on hormone therapy for the rest of his life. I would like to just try for you to help you imagine what we are living in. Sterigenics is just on the other side of Route 83, and we're about 10 houses to the west of 83. Midway Drive is a very short little street between Route 83 and Clarendon Hills Road. There aren't many homes. On our little block, there are 10 houses. 10. I have 2 members in my family that have cancer. At the very end of our block, on the corner of Clarendon Hills Road and Midway, is a woman who also has breast cancer. Immediately across the street from us, close your eyes and imagine this, the daughter, breast cancer in both breasts. Immediately next door, east of them, which is kitty corner from us, both breasts. The next house, I'm not sure, we rarely see them. The 4th house over, both breasts. Need I say more? We need your support. We absolutely cannot allow them to take off the seal and begin operations as usual. We're dying.
Thank you. Appreciate you taking the time tonight, genuinely. We will take this and process it. We generally don't act on things brought immediately this evening, but we will get into it as a community and as a village council, and we'll sort out next steps that we think make sense on behalf of our residents. We appreciate you coming tonight, genuinely. Any other comments on a non-agenda item for the evening? Okay. Moving on then to a consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Mayor Barnett, I move to approve the executive session minutes for approval May 21st, 2019 and June 4th, 2019, and the council minutes of June 4th, 2019 as presented.
Second.
Thank you, Marge, for saving
You're
me.
welcome.
Appreciate that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. They're to be approved unanimously. Now moving on to the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mayor Barnett, I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved unanimously as well. That takes us to our active agenda this evening. We have one item on the active agenda. Is there a motion to authorize a loan agreement?
Mayor Barnett, I move to approve an ordinance authorizing a loan agreement between the Village of Downers Grove and the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this item for this evening? Council? Anyone from the audience have input on this item? This is a loan agreement with the Illinois EPA. When we do projects, we often seek partnerships or additional support from resources for other government agencies. In this case, we're seeking some money to help pay for some water main replacements. And with that, April, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Earl?
Aye.
Commissioner Wallace?
Aye.
Commissioner Colavani?
Aye.
Commissioner Sadowski Fugit?
Aye.
Mayor Barnett?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Takes us to our first reading. Dave, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Barnett. Tonight's first reading consists of 4 agenda items. The first is an ordinance establishing administrative procedures for the Public Safety Employee Benefits Act. And here to provide more information on this item is our village attorney, Enza Petrarca.
Dave, the next item is an ordinance establishing administrative procedures for assessing and determining claims under the Public Safety Employee Benefits Act, otherwise known as PSEBA. PSEBA benefits are awarded to our public safety employees who are injured catastrophically or killed in the line of duty. This ordinance simply formalizes the procedure. It makes no changes to our existing procedure. It simply provides for the application process, the appeal process, and the level of benefits awarded to those people. There are, like I said, there are no changes to our existing program. It simply formalizes everything into an ordinance form. Be happy to answer any questions, Mayor.
Questions from the council? As is often the case, we find that we are in a position of cleaning up and tidying ordinances as we go through the course of the year. This and a couple other items on tonight's agenda are exactly that. So we'll continue on, please.
Thank you. The next 3 items on tonight's first reading agenda all have to deal with stormwater management. And here to present information on all 3 of these items is our Public Works Director, Nan Newland.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Our first item is a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Westmont and the Westmont Park District for stormwater improvements in Deer Creek. On June 4th of this year, just the last council meeting, the council approved an agreement with Engineering Resources to begin engineering work for construction plans for improvements in Deer Creek subdivision. The proposed IGA will grant temporary easements to the village to construct the improvements that were authorized in that contract. So I just wanted to show you briefly, this is the location of Deer Creek subdivision, south of 55th Street, east of Fairview Avenue. It's just close to Barth Pond there. You can see on the blue line, that's the Westmont boundary line. So Deer Creek is surrounded to the south and to the east by the Village of Westmont. This is Deer Creek, and in green right below it on the south side, you'll see the green areas. Those are the proposed temporary easements that will allow us to perform that work. And this is an outline of those easements. That will be with the Westmont Park District. We will perform the work. It will be restored, and the temporary easements that we have will then be converted to permanent easements to the City of Westmont, who will be maintaining the property after the work is completed. As I said, this will be a resolution, and we're looking for approval for the resolution, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any council questions on this item?
Does this intergovernmental agreement contain any follow-up inspections that we would be able to do, just to make sure everything's functioning properly? I don't know if that's something we need in there, but this is, I know this has been a long time in coming. I just don't know and I understand that Westmont is then going to take care of it, but do we have any say in how well it's being taken care of, I guess, is the question.
Like maintenance standards concepts?
Right, exactly.
We'll be talking to Commissioner Sadowski-Fugit about that on the phone call on Monday as well. That's something we can look into.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Rich?
Just to set the residents' expectations, this is not intended to solve all of the stormwater problems in Deer Creek, correct?
That's right. This will help with the lower storms, the more frequent storms. So in a large storm event, it really won't look any different. It'll just be less frequent overtopping in the smaller storm events.
And is the expectation that the study that DuPage County is undertaking will address further needs?
Yes, that study will look at the entire watershed and will propose changes that could, much larger scale changes that could have a bigger benefit to the entire watershed.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the audience this evening? All right, I'd just like to extend my thanks to Westmont Park District and the Village of Westmont for participating. As is often the case, we just don't operate alone, and we need help from other communities and neighboring government entities to really do the best for our residents, and we all appreciate their participation. Looking forward to getting some work done there. Thank you, Dan.
The next two ordinances I'll present together, they're also stormwater related. These are revisions to Chapter 13 and Chapter 26 of the Village Code. Code changes are proposed to Chapter 13, which will address enforcement of illicit discharges into our stormwater system, and Chapter 26, which will adopt new updated floodplain maps for the village. So first for Chapter 13, the proposed ordinance will expand the list of pollutants that cannot be discharged into the stormwater system, and the intention here is to improve water quality in our creeks and rivers. The proposed changes will allow the village to enforce illicit discharges that we become aware of or are notified of. In order to remain compliant with DuPage County Stormwater Ordinance and our full waiver status as a community, we are required to adopt this ordinance, which was created by DuPage County, and we are mirroring those same requirements. The changes in Chapter 26, as I said, are updating the floodplain maps. These are prepared by the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, which is a federal agency. They issue what we refer to as flood insurance rate maps, or FIRM maps, which residents use to obtain flood insurance. What this ordinance change will do will update the flood insurance maps as a result of increased rainfall data over time, improved modeling standards that they use, and technologies and changes to land use and improved topographic information. This was a 4-year process. FEMA issued final revised maps with an effective date of August 2019 for DuPage County, and we as a village are required to update our maps prior to that date to maintain conformance with the FEMA regulations and to allow our residents to continue to buy flood insurance. Letters were sent to all property owners whose primary structures were newly mapped into the 100-year floodplain, and mortgage companies may require flood insurance for these properties. And after that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any council questions? Council questions? Any questions from the audience on these two items? Okay, just a reminder, tonight was a house cleaning sort of exercise. We had a state, county, and federal, just about a SCMODS event tonight. But we took the opportunity, as often happens, our ordinances reflect or mimic other entities' ordinances, so the state, county, or federal government, and give us an opportunity in some cases to apply local standards above and beyond those ordinances. When those change, we often have to change with them. And so what you've seen tonight is an example of how that process works. It's largely clerical, it doesn't change intents in most cases, but they're important. Nana had one question about the maps. Are those currently available, or if not, when do you expect they would be on through our GIS system?
They are currently available on our system, so you can go right to our webpage and click on a property or put in an address, and it'll take you right to that property.
Fantastic. So we've had that question several times, too. When are the FEMA maps going to be available? And they are now. So visit our website. There's an icon or a link to the lower right-hand side, I think, that talks about GIS and maps. You can check out your property there and see if it's been affected. Thanks, Nan.
You're welcome.
That ends our first reading for tonight. Manager's report.
No report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Fantastic. Attorney's report.
Thank you, Mayor. 3 items tonight to present. The first is an ordinance establishing an administrative procedure for assessing and determining claims under PSEBA, an ordinance regulating the illicit discharge detection and elimination, and an ordinance amending stormwater provisions. All 3 items will be on next week's active agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Enza. Mayor and council member reports. Anybody want to volunteer to start? Marge.
We get asked a lot about parking in the downtown, and currently on the Downers Grove website at downers.us, you can find a parking survey. And for residents and visitors, and business employees, metro commuters, there's someplace for everybody to take the survey, and we would really, really like your input because it's going to help us shape the future of the parking for downtown. So, thank you.
Thank you, Marge. Rich?
Just on a personal note, I was able to attend the Illinois Municipal League training for newly elected officials last Thursday. That was paid for by the Village of Downers Grove. And then also the DuPage Mayors and Managers training that was held on Saturday. And I can say that the orientation that I received from these 3 fine individuals did a great job in preparing that. It was very comprehensive. So I would say my vote is that Downers Grove is doing the proper things to train newly elected officials.
Thanks, Rich. Leslie?
I can echo that. I went to the DMMC training that Rich went to as well, and I feel like we were yards ahead of everyone else that was there for sure. And you know, Rich also won a really exciting zoning book, so we all look forward to sharing that.
Awesome.
I'll be renting it out.
Thank you. Nicole?
Can you handle this?
No,
Are you sure you
no,
can handle this?
I'm not sure.
We are in the single digits.
Oh, my gosh.
Single digits to Rotary Grove Fest. 9 days. Very exciting. I checked the weather again. It doesn't matter what it says. It's going to be beautiful with no rain, no bugs. It's going to be phenomenal. So please come out in 9 days, downtown, 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and have a great time. And Sunday. Thank you. That would be 4. I don't teach math. So there you go. Thank you, Mayor.
Fantastic. Thanks, Nicole. And there's no way I can top that, so I have no report this evening. With that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, one more thing. Congratulations to the West Suburban Humane Society on their groundbreaking today.
Go.
So,
Congratulations. That was awesome.
and move to adjourn.
Second.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.